In every community, there are stories that get told and stories that get buried. There are bridges that lift people up and gaps that pull people apart. Some truths aren't loud, they whisper in the places between us, in the silence, in the places where equity breaks. But every bridge has a guardian, every legacy has a keeper. My name is Hakeem Coggins. I am the Bridgekeeper. This is not a podcast. This is not a show. This is a movement, a journey across stories, struggle, and the gaps we must dismantle to make our community whole again. Here, we expose what's hidden. We honor the originators. We protect the truth. So welcome to the Bridgekeeper series, where courage becomes clarity, where community becomes narrative, and where truth finally crosses over. Let's walk this bridge together. They say funding is competitive. They say resources are limited. They say not everyone can be supported. But what they don't say out loud is that competition is neutral. It's designed. And for some of us, competition isn't about who's best. It's about who's allowed to be seen. This episode isn't about bitterness. It's about clarity. Because what looks like resistance has actually been training. When I first founded Newport Bridge, I realized something early on. I wouldn't have reached this position unless I built it myself. They'd say, "You don't have enough experience." But I did. I lived it. Then they turn around and hire individuals fresh out of high school. I realized the only way to get the experience they claimed I lacked was to create the path myself. And if I wasn't offered a seat at the table, I'd bring my own lawn chair. I see the same issues in funding. How can I grow if I'm not supported? And if larger, safer institutions show patterns of underperformance with sky-high salaries, why are they consistently funded? I've been told more times than I can count. Grants are competitive. But here's what I've learned living inside that system. When grassroots, black-led programs apply, competition means scrutiny. When larger institutions replicate the same ideas, the competition suddenly disappears. The same concepts once labeled too risky, too informal, or not scalable become fundable the moment they're copied. Minus the community, minus the relationships, minus the lived experience. That's not a coincidence. That's a pattern. Newport Bridge didn't start with money. It started with gaps. Fresh Fit existed because people needed dignity, not just referrals. Broken Cycle existed because woman centers sent people right back into the same crisis cycle they came in with. The Street Sweeper Dignity Team existed because people wanted purpose, not charity. These programs worked before they were ever fully funded. That matters, because while Newport Bridge was being told, not yet, maybe next cycle, or you're competing against strong organizations. Those same organizations weren't innovating, they were watching. And suddenly, after impact was visible, similar programs appeared elsewhere. Same concepts, different branding, bigger budgets. That's not growth, that's extraction. This isn't new. In sports, we've seen it. Games fixed, rules bent, talent controlled. In music, we've seen it. Culture created in the streets, profits collected elsewhere. In community work, it's the same playbook. Creative always comes from pressure. Privilege just packages it. And here's the part people don't like hearing. Being underfunded forced me to be sharper. Being overlooked forced me to be more creative. Being denied forced me to build relationships money can't buy. So if the system thought it was slowing me down, it miscalculated. Let me say this carefully and clearly. If executives are earning six-figure salaries, the expectation should be leadership and innovation, not copy and paste. If an idea can be lifted directly from a grassroots program, run with no salary, and reproduced with funding, then the question isn't about competition, it's about competence. Because real leadership doesn't chase ideas, it generates them. Here's the part that surprises people. Them know every way. Because what they can copy is the structure, not the soul. They can replicate schedules. They can replicate activities. They can replicate language, but they cannot replicate relationships. They cannot replicate trust. They cannot replicate lived experience. And most importantly, they cannot replicate why this work exists. Newport Bridge isn't a brand. It's a community collaboration. That's why it lasts. Even being denied funding didn't weaken me. It sharpened me. When you don't get handed resources, you build relationships. When you don't get institutional trust, you earn community trust. When you're forced to be creative just to survive, you develop something privilege can't buy: originality. Spoiled systems repeat themselves. Hungry systems evolve. People say certain demographics may not take this well. And I always wonder, since when did comfort become the measure of truth? We don't take slavery well. We don't take racism well. We don't take inequality well. We don't take cheating, stereotypes, or systems built on exclusion well either. But somehow that discomfort is acceptable. Well, what about the people counting on you? The ones whose lives are shaped by decisions made in rooms they'll never be invited into. The ones told to be patient while the clock keeps running out. There's a saying, if you see something wrong, change it with your hands. If you can't do that, change it with your voice. And if you can't even do that, then reject it in your heart and mind. And that, the prophet said, is the weakest form of faith. I refuse to live at the weakest level of belief, because people aren't just struggling, people are being doomed by design. And I'm not going to sell out, not for a seat at the table, not for a piece of the pie, definitely not for the crumbs on the table. There's another truth people don't like to say out loud. A rich man with millions of dollars who gives the equivalent of a poor man is not equal. Sacrifice isn't measured by the amount given, it's measured by what it costs the giver. I don't pat myself on the back. I don't do this for a salary. I don't do this for a secured income stream. I don't do this for clout, visibility, or to check boxes for the next funding cycle. I do this without guarantees, without applause, sometimes without protection. I do it because it's in me. Because when you've seen the gaps up close, when you've lived inside the consequences, silence starts to feel like betrayal. So if this makes people uncomfortable, good. Discomfort is the beginning of truth. The truth is the only thing that's ever built a real bridge. This episode is an invitation for funders to ask, are we funding impact or comfort? Are we rewarding innovation or familiarity? Are we supporting originators or only those who look safe holding the idea? Because creativity always outlasts privilege. Community always outperforms duplication, and truth doesn't need permission to exist. I'm not here to compete with systems that copy. I'm here to outgrow them. This is episode 4 of the Bridgekeeper series, and the bridge is still being built.